charged out. From behind the wall of brush, the wild buffalo burst forward like a living block of steel, powerful enough to shake the whole field in a single breath. The calm vanished instantly, replaced by that uneasy tension only raw wilderness can create. Out here at the border between farmland and deep forest, this nearly 1-ton beast still moves with the instincts of a ruler. One hit from its horns could take down a whole thicket and become a real danger to the locals. So when tracks show up at the edge of the fields, the mission to regain control begins. Careful footsteps, eyes focused down the barrel, breathing in rhythm with the forest. Everything signals a challenge waiting ahead. Join us, subscribe to Famigo Farm, and follow the journey. And then the moment we'd been waiting for finally arrived. Not because the scene was dramatic, but because it marked the appearance of a real threat. The wild buffalo had stepped out of hiding. Out here on the edge of the forest and the farmland, a nearly 1-ton buffalo isn't just wildlife. It's a direct danger to crops and to people. One hit from this animal is completely unpredictable and unbelievably dangerous. Among large animals, buffaloes are known for having one of the strongest charges, capable of flipping a car with a single strike, breaking fences, taking down livestock, and injuring anyone who gets too close. As it moved closer, step by step, we knew one thing: hesitation would only expand the risk. A wild buffalo doesn't need to look aggressive. Its instincts alone can cause serious damage. The rifle was raised, not to show power, but out of responsibility to protect the farmland. People here have seen their fields destroyed overnight, their livestock thrown to the ground just for being in the way. A wild buffalo showing up right in the middle of planting season could wipe out months of hard work in seconds. The decision was made quickly, precisely, and necessarily. The shot was fired, clean and accurate, because even a small mistake could cost anything. In the wild, sometimes the only way to stay safe is to act before danger becomes disaster. Because with an animal strong enough to tear through an entire field in one charge, control isn't just a choice, it's a responsibility. To truly understand the threat in front of us, you have to look at the real power this animal carries. A wild buffalo possesses a kind of primal strength that time has never managed to wear down. Hundreds of kilograms of muscle wrap around its shoulders and neck like braided steel, giving it the ability to hit hard enough to snap small trees in a single impact. Every step it takes lands with the weight of a sledgehammer, leaving deep marks in the ground, a reminder that nothing about its movement is gentle. In its world, confrontations follow the rules of instinct. When two bulls meet, the air goes still, as if waiting for a collision that can't be avoided. They slam into each other with their full body weight, each impact sharp and violent enough to make the ground tremble. It isn't needless aggression. It's how they establish territory, hierarchy, and the survival of the herd, instincts shaped over thousands of years. Only by witnessing moments like these do you truly grasp the power this species holds. Its awareness never really drops. A small shift in the grass, a strange sound, even a change in wind direction, any of it can trigger an immediate reaction. When it feels threatened, it can whip around and charge straight toward the source of the noise faster than a person can react. Near farmland, that power becomes costly. Solid borders can be torn open. Steel fences get bent out of shape. Wide planting areas turn into deep, uneven trenches after a single night of feeding. What looks untouched at dusk can become a stripped, bare patch of land by sunrise. And property damage is only part of the problem. These animals can carry dangerous diseases that spread quickly to livestock through direct contact or contaminated water. Outbreaks in a herd can cause losses even more severe than destroyed crops. When buffalo wander close to communities, the risk of vehicle collisions rises sharply, especially during low visibility hours like early morning or late evening. One unexpected appearance on the road is enough to cause a serious accident for local drivers. With all these risks, control stops being an option. It becomes a necessity. Taking action at the right time protects crops, reduces conflict, and keeps residents safe. It's not about dominating nature. It's about allowing people and wildlife to coexist without unnecessary loss. Because in places where raw power can erupt in a single moment, control isn't about authority. It's about protecting the land, the livelihood, and the safety of the communities living right beside it. And when it comes to approaching safely, timing is everything. The season for managing these animals always follows the rhythm of the changing climate each year. When the dry season begins, moisture pulls back from the soil. The forest thins out, and the ground becomes harder with trails that are easier to read. The mud that once hid their tracks dries up, leaving every step clearly stamped into the ground. This is when tracking and predicting their movement becomes far more proactive and accurate. The period from May to October is considered the most favorable. Weeds shrink, the brush becomes less tangled, and visibility opens up enough to observe from a distance without getting too close. Natural water sources also recede to just a few remaining spots, forcing the animals to return to the same familiar routes we've come to know well after many seasons. During this time, their biological rhythm stays more consistent, making it easier to forecast their direction and plan a safe approach. Most activity happens along the border between farmland and open forest. Wide grass patches, torn-up field edges, shallow water pockets, and old trails leading deeper into the woods. Some areas have more complicated terrain, like small mounds or low brush, but they all share one thing in common. The animals move through them during the quietest hours of the day. Depending on the region, their active times vary. In lowland fields near the forest, early morning is when they leave their resting spots to feed. In higher elevations or areas near water sources, activity spikes again in the late afternoon as temperatures drop. Knowing these specific time windows, wind directions, and behavior patterns allows us to approach at the right moment while minimizing risk. Once the timing and the tracks were clear, the next step was preparing for the approach. The late afternoon sun stretched long bands of light across the cooling grassland. This was the quietest moment of the day, and also the time when large wildlife often leaves its resting area to head toward water. For us, it was the perfect window to begin the next phase. Before moving deeper into the active zone, the gear was checked quickly but thoroughly. The scope was switched to low light mode, straps tightened, and the wind direction confirmed by watching the tilt of the grass along the field's edge. Evening winds tend to travel long and steady, and can carry human scent farther than expected if we're not careful. The team gathered in a tight circle, exchanging a short, focused briefing. No long explanations, just essentials. The location of the newest tracks, the angle of the sinking sun, and the direction the animal usually takes at this hour. With everything confirmed, the formation shifted into approach mode. We moved along the edge of the field, where waist-high grass swayed in the afternoon breeze. The ground had dried enough to soften our footsteps, but sounds to carry farther at this time of day. Spacing between each person remained consistent, close enough for hand signals, but not so tight that we created an obvious silhouette. The crosswind across the field forced every step to be calculated, ensuring we left no unnecessary noise or scent behind. Then, right ahead, A streak of disturbed grass caught our attention. A smooth patch had been carved into a fresh, long groove. A new sign. The entire team froze. Each member crouched to examine the moisture in the soil, the direction the grass was pushed, communicating only through gestures. In the distance stood a low, rounded mound rising gently from the plain. It was the perfect vantage point, high enough to observe the entire area, low enough not to cast a long shadow in the setting sun. We lowered our bodies and approached slowly, parting the grass just enough to avoid catching the last light of the day. Once in position, everything went still. The grass continued to sway in the wind, but no one moved. Breaths stayed low and controlled, eyes scanning the fading field ahead, where the last light of the afternoon was sinking into the tall grass. Before taking another step, the equipment had to be checked to absolute perfection. Once the observation point was secured, the next phase was reviewing the firearm, the most critical step in staying safe under any circumstance. In an open grassland like this, reaction time is short, and every piece of gear has to perform flawlessly. The primary choice for this control operation was a double-barrel rifle, a firearm designed specifically for the largest and strongest wildlife. Its side-by-side barrels allow for 2 quick shots without cycling a bolt, a clear advantage when a situation can change in an instant. The rifle is also exceptionally stable, less recoil than many long barrel options, quick target acquisition, and a steady sight picture even when you need to react in a split second. It's the kind of weapon trusted in environments where just a few dozen meters can determine the entire outcome of the approach. Paired with it was the 600 Nitro Express, one of the most powerful calibers ever developed for managing large, heavy animals. Its strength isn't about making a statement. It's about delivering reliable stopping power against animals weighing several hundred kilograms and capable of charging with massive force. The recoil is strong but predictable. The velocity is high, but still maintains impressive accuracy at the ranges this team typically works in. With one pull of the trigger, all the energy is delivered consistently, exactly what's needed when there's no room for mistakes. Most importantly, every firearm and every round carried was fully compliant with local regulations. The right type, the right caliber, the right operational limits. Every detail, from barrel selection to ammunition choice, was reviewed carefully to ensure that all actions were safe, legal, and properly controlled for everyone involved. As sunset settled over the grassland and the last light slipped away, the landscape returned to its familiar quiet. The fresh tracks reminded us that these animals were never far. Each control trip ends, but the responsibility remains. The crops still need protection, and this land still calls for steady vigilance every single day. Throughout the entire process, we relied on observation, timing, and strict safety principles to maintain the right distance from the raw power of the wild. And as we stepped off the field, everyone knew there would be many more trips ahead. The story isn't finished. Subscribe to Famigo Farm so you don't miss the next chapter of the journey.